Hello again, Chris Lee and Chase Robinson of Southeastern 16 here to preview and predict outcomes on Ole Miss's road trip to Florida. You may catch that at 11 Central on the SEC Network. BetOnline has Ole Miss favored by 10 with an over-under of 55. That makes for an expected final score of around Ole Miss 33, Florida 23. My computer composite model's got Ole Miss by a dozen. Gators get a big win against LSU, keeping bowl hopes alive, which are very realistic now with an end game against a one-win Florida State team. Meanwhile, Ole Miss got everything in the world to play for. We're doing this Tuesday morning. I think Ole Miss is going to be in the playoff bracket as it is released tonight. We'll see if the Rebels can hang on. Just a lone game after that against Mississippi State, potentially a trip to the SEC title game. I think the odds on that are slim. Very interesting game, certainly more interesting than we would have thought a couple of weeks ago, Chase.
Yeah, I think these two teams are playing their best football right now. I mean, Ole Miss obviously putting up a lot of points. They're playing with their back against the wall and trying to get into the playoff. I feel like Florida, though, is just kind of settled in, and DJ Lagway really leading the way. I feel like they're playing their best football right now. I mean, and so, yeah, that makes this matchup much more intriguing than we would have thought several weeks ago.
Let's dive into the matchup, starting with when Ole Miss has the ball. I'll let you pull up that graphic. I guess you have. You see the numbers here. I think the big thing is Ole Miss's offense on passing downs is incredible, averaging over 10 yards per pass play. That takes sacks off it, which they don't get sacked a ton. Florida's defense, I don't know that anything really stands out, but I will tell you this is the team that keeps getting guys hurt, keeps getting defensive backs hurt, and then they still play pretty well. They found a pass rush last week against LSU. I think 7 sacks against a defense that had given up 6 all year. That may say more about LSU than it does Florida. But what stands out to you in the matchup here, Chase?
I mean, Ole Miss offensively has just been – they've been clicking. I mean, look, Jackson Dart, he's got 3,409 yards, 22 touchdowns, and just 4 interceptions on the season. I mean, his numbers are tremendous. He's got so many weapons around him to throw to. I feel like their running game is coming on, and they're starting to find their way there, and you know they protect the football, and I think that goes a long way for this Ole Miss team and the wins that they've had. I really like them. They are big. They're going to put up big numbers in these games. So I'm fascinated to see what they could do, because Florida's defense, you know, there's not guys all over the field who really stand out. They just play well together as a team. I feel like they get the job done as an entire unit instead of just 1 or 2 guys really standing out. That's what has stood out to me about this Florida defense. I feel like it's just a total team effort here by the Gators.
Yeah, a weird week for Florida last week. Defense couldn't get off the field, but it didn't matter because LSU really couldn't cash in.
Yeah.
So there was that. It is for Ole Miss, speaking of weird, Trey Harris was a dominating player for the Rebels the first half of the season. Then injuries took their toll. He's missed some games. Looks like he's going to be back for this one. And in the meantime, what happened with Ole Miss? Harris had, I think, until he got hurt, like the largest target share in the country or something close to that. Excuse me if I'm a little bit off on the stat, but you get the point. And now what's happened is that they've found other guys. Watkins has shown he can have a dominant game. Now you throw him back into the mix, and especially if Florida's got some injuries at defensive back, if it's got some health concerns there, which, again, have been an issue at times, Ole Miss has got a chance to make what was a strength even stronger.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point with like a guy like Jordan Watkins, who the first part of the season we're like, hey, where's he at? Like he's not producing like we thought he would, but he has as of late. They've got guys all over who just step up when needed, and that there's a lot of depth offensively for Ole Miss, and I feel like they just got a really good group who steps up when you really need them to step up.
All right, let's flip sides of the matchup here. Before we do, reminder, BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting. From the earliest odds to in-game live betting, BetOnline provides you with all the action and the ability to watch the games as they happen. With the largest selection of odds on everything from football, NBA, and college basketball, NHL to UFC and MMA, head to BetOnline today to get in on the action with America's most trusted site for online wagering. BetOnline, the game starts here. Okay, stats. I'm not sure how much they mean here. Ole Miss has really dominated some weak teams, but also has played pretty well against some really good offenses lately. Georgia can tell you a little bit about that. And I guess when I say I don't know what the stats mean, I'm really referring more to Florida because DJ Lagway has sometimes been a part of things that they do for part of a game. Sometimes he's what they do the whole game. Sometimes he's not playing at all. It just depends on his health. What are we expecting from Florida offensively with Lagway, and how does that have implications for what we see Saturday, Chase?
Well, I think Lagway changes the game for Florida. When he's in, he provides a spark that they really need. He's got 1,200 yards, throwing 7 touchdowns. He does have 5 interceptions, but I feel like he generates things offensively that Florida really needs, and he has 114 yards rushing on the season as well, so he can move, and I feel like he can get out and make things happen, whether it's just moving to get a pass or able to use his legs. He can do both of those things. And so I think he does well on the run, and that's what provides Florida with, a little more versatility offensively. But he's a huge part. I feel like they go as he goes with this Florida offense. And the injury to Graham Mertz was very unfortunate, but I feel like DJ Lagway has done a good job of stepping up when he is healthy. And I think we'll see a healthy DJ Lagway this week against Ole Miss.
Yeah, this offense looks so different from week to week. It's not just him, but Jaden Ball has taken more of a share of the load, 6 carries, 65 yards, and a touchdown last week. Montrell Johnson, their preseason All-SEC back, only had 2 carries last week. I think the bigger thing, Elijah Badger, healthy. He had a big game last week, 6 for a $131. I think the thing I'm watching here really, though, is pass protection. Ole Miss's sack numbers are just off the charts, and Florida's done a pretty good job of protecting the passer. Having Lagway in there probably helps because he's got an escapability when he's healthy, but been playing with the hamstring issue. So I'll be interested to see how that impacts the issue of pass rush for Ole Miss.
Yeah, Ole Miss has just been so good on the pass rush, on really stopping the run as well. Like, I feel like teams have just had a hard time running on this defense, and we'll see what Florida is able to do. But I feel like this is a matchup where Ole Miss really likes it, and they see what Florida has, and really feels like they can contain that. But they've just been so good this year defensively. Yeah, you think offense when you think Lane Kiffin, but defensively they have been really good as well.
All right, let's get to picks and why, and I will start with you.
Ole Miss is just playing so hot right now, and I think Florida can compete in this game. I really do think so. But I think Ole Miss wins it. I think they find ways. They get big plays. They win the ball game. But I think it can be close at times because Florida is playing good football as well. I just think Ole Miss is playing some of the best football in the country right now.
Yeah, keep an eye on big plays for Florida because the defense has been okay, not great, but big plays are really what Lagway generates, and he generates a lot of them when he's feeling well. On the other hand, Ole Miss, one thing that I don't know if we've really pointed out, Ole Miss played, 7 games to open the season, then had a bye week. Since Ole Miss came back from that bye week, probably the best 3-game stretch of games we've seen from the Rebels. Oklahoma, at Arkansas, Georgia, all wins. Now a bye week to get healthy for Florida. I think that helps Trey Harris. I just think that both teams are capable of winning this game, but I think this is more about Ole Miss right now. Ole Miss really playing well while the time is right, while the season is on the line, and I think that is going to be the loudest thing in this game. We'll be here to talk about it afterwards. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, enable your notifications so you know when we go live, which is usually around 9:30 Central on Saturday night to recap these games. Hope you'll tune in for that. For Chase Robinson, I'm Chris Lee. You're watching Southeastern 16, presented by BetOnline.